Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Coffee Break. It's Steve Barrett here, the editorial director of PR Week. Delighted to be here this week's show with Teneshia Jackson-Warner, who's the founder and CEO of Egami Group, and a very exciting week for you, Teneshia, so it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Steve, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you here, and tell us all about this deal you've done with Egami Group, which sounds very exciting and is hopefully going to help you take the agency to the next stage. Just give us the sort of potted details of the deal.
I'm so happy that we're talking on this week. We've just announced this yesterday, and Egami Group and Egami Group have formed a strategic alliance. And inside of this strategic alliance, we really are going to be propelling DE&I communications and everything that means from the inside out. So as partners, Egami Group will become Egami Group's exclusive communication partner. So by that, we're not working with any other PR firms. This is indeed our partner. And some of the things that we're going to be doing is focusing from the inside out. So nurturing talent, really becoming a great place to work for people of color. We will have goals around advancing and leadership opportunities for people of color in terms of our talent. Secondly, something that we're really excited about is placing a greater emphasis and focus on multicultural communications. And what does that mean to really understand how to engage with diverse audiences? And Steve, I know you know this is extremely important as diverse audiences become the majority. We're on track to do that by 2045. And after the census, everybody, has been talking about that. And then last but not least, we're really looking forward to the impact that we know we can make for our clients, as well as for the community. It really is a win-win. Inside of this strategic alliance, Egami Group made a strategic capital investment in a Black-owned business. And that was huge. As a minority business owner who've been building this agency for 14 years, access to capital, access to connections, access to mentorship. These are huge barriers that exist for MBEs. And Egami Group, Barbie, and the team, they just were really innovative in thinking about a new collaboration and a new way to sort of achieve DE&I and what that looks like, even in working with a minority business enterprise.
Yeah, so Barbie Siegel's the CEO over there. Egami is a subsidiary of Edelman. It's part of Daniel J. Edelman Holdings. So a great partner to have. And as you say, they've taken an investment, presumably a minority investment. But one of the points you made when we did the story, which was very meaningful, was that in 2019, the stats showed that only 4% of funding was going to Black-owned business and even less of VC money to Black and Latino-owned businesses. So tell us about that as a trend, that is an incredibly small amount. And tell us how you're going to be able to use this investment now that you've got it from Egami.
Yes, so access to capital is a huge barrier. And Steve, I'm often sharing stats like what I shared with your team, one of which Black entrepreneurs are nearly 3 times more likely than white entrepreneurs to have their business growth and profits be negatively impacted by lack of financial capital. And of course, we're always increasing cultural competency and understanding for our clients. But as a minority business enterprise owner, I personally experienced this over the past 14 years of having the right access and channels to even go to tap into for capital. And it's a huge barrier because you need that access in order to grow. So it's a historic moment for our firm, and ways that we're going to be using it includes human capital. So we will be doing hiring of new talent, a great deal of training and development for our teams, Also infusing technology into some of our capabilities and what we're delivering. And last but not least, also infrastructure support for our operation. So we're thrilled about the capital infusion made by Zeno Group, and we're looking forward to the growth that we know we're going to be experiencing after this.
That sounds great. And will you also get access to Zeno's clients? You know, will they bring you in on briefs and activations and try and grow in that way as well?
So Zeno Group, as well as Egami Group, we will continue to operate as two independent, separate agencies. However, we will definitely be looking for opportunities to basically bring our strengthened multicultural capability to the marketplace. So this will include opportunities for select clients for us to work as an integrated team and bring the best of what we're doing. And of course, we will select which clients we're able to do that with, because we are independent and separate. It's very important that we also ensure that there are no conflicts, and you know, we will be safe about that. But for those clients that we're able to, absolutely, we're thrilled about a chance to bring these new enhanced services to our clients.
Yeah, no, your work has already been honored at Cannes. You won a Grand Prix for a brilliant piece of work that you did with Procter & Gamble called The Talk, which was fantastic. And I think you were the first Black-owned agency to win a Grand Prix. So tell us a bit about that, and tell us about the relationship with Procter & Gamble.
So Procter & Gamble is our longest standing client, and it's been one of those clients as a multicultural marketer that has really been very focused on doing work to enhance cultural competency, but also ensure that people of color can see themselves in advertising and see themselves in communications. I would say P&G has just been one of the most amazing clients that is not afraid in being provocative and bold. And so for that particular piece of work with The Talk, Procter & Gamble made a huge stand to end bias. Like, what a vision, to end bias. And for the work that we were able to do, it was, what would it look like to take a step towards ending racial bias? And in order to do that, we had to start shining a light on different racial bias that exists. And one of those places that we did was we took a look at a unique talk that happens within the homes of Black Americans. And it's the talk, and it's the moment that you prepare your child for their first incident in which they will encounter racial bias. And so you have to know, as a company, to start walking in waters around really spreading a light on racial bias. P&G just was bold, and I commend CMO Mark Pritchard, Damon Jones, Crystal Harrell for just all of the amazing work that they've continued to do, even after The Talk, The Choice, The Look. There's so many different pieces of work that they continue to do.
Yeah, no, they've been very innovative in doing that, and we've followed a lot of that. So congratulations on that and that continued relationship. Clearly, last year was an extraordinary year from many points of view, not just coronavirus and sort of a very febrile sort of political situation, but we had a sort of racial reckoning prompted by the murder of George Floyd by the police. When that happened, a lot of businesses, a lot of corporations made some big statements, and brands, and you know, there's a skepticism about whether they followed up with actions. What's your take on that over a year later now, in terms of sort of checking the receipts? Did corporate America really step up and do what it said it was going to do?
So during that period, Steve, American companies pledged $50 billion towards racial equity following George Floyd's murder. And leading into this call, I wanted to check the stats. And according to Creative Investment Research, and this was also featured on Fortune, since that time, only 250 million of the 50 billion has actually been spent or committed to a specific initiative, according to the analysis of that firm. And so I think if you take a look at 50 billion in pledges, you know, after the social awakening and the reckoning happened, to where are we today with 250 million being pledged, that goes to show you a huge gap. And there's a great deal amount more of work that has to be done. And I will say, it's not to say that that 50 billion will not be deployed. Many companies took a multi-year approach,
Sure.
but it's going to be important that companies are held accountable, that we continue this conversation, that it doesn't happen, in a moment when of crisis, but that it's a consistent commitment that's happening every day. And, I do want to harken back to the mindset of a Barbie and a Zeno Group's team to here we are 18 months later, but to think out of the box around infusing capital into a minority business enterprise. It will take that type of mindset as leaders for us to continuously think about what's our part every day. There's more work to be done, Steve.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think those were definitely pledges over multi-years, but even so, 250 million out of 50 billion, that's not a massive amount, is it? So yeah, you're right. A lot needs to be done. If we sort of look then down and drill down into the PR industry, you started your agency 14 years ago. There's always been quite a diverse industry, but when you get to the senior levels, that diversity thins out, and that's been a constant issue. Do you think that's changed over the last year? Because we have seen, for example, at Edelman, which is Zeno's sister company, Lisa Ross is now US CEO. We've seen, Chris Foster take over as the CEO of Omnicom Public Relations Group. We've seen senior hires on the client side, and we've seen other senior hires, and not just in diversity roles, but in business roles. So there's a lot of skepticism about this, but do you actually think maybe we are making a bit of progress at the senior levels as well?
I do. And it has definitely warmed my heart to see some of these moves happen. Kudos to Chris, and we've kind of been watching. I think the PR industry, we are making steps every single day, and I'm proud of the work that is happening. I will say there is so much more to do, but I want to commend what has happened so far.
Yeah, for sure. And what other trends are you seeing? How's it been running an agency from remotely? I think you're actually at home, although you've got a great setup. It looks like you're in the office. How's it been running an agency remotely over the past 18 months? And when do you think you'll be going back to an office environment?
Okay, so actually, Steve, I'm going to do a segue here. When I said there's so much more work to do, I always love giving sort of the answers, just in case if you're listening out there, things that can continue to be done, ensuring that your work cultures allow your team members to bring their entire authentic selves to the table, which I think that's going to be good where we're going about working remote, Steve. Continue to have those conversations and dialogue. Representation matters at every level. So I know we talked about those senior levels, but make sure you have a plan through every level. And then partnerships and collaborations, and making sure that minority business enterprises are a part of your supplier diversity chain. And so those are things that I know we're all talking about it, and I'm proud of the industry, but I couldn't help but not go back there. In terms of work.
You're right, it is relevant too, because I think those things were a little more difficult in lockdown, weren't they? And when everyone's a little bit more isolated.
Absolutely. So now to answer your question about how has it been, number one, I think we've all realized that we are stronger than we ever knew. Again, Steve, I can remember coming to your office and doing the podcast, and you just said that now you know that you don't have to have us actually come into the office.
We used to insist, no matter where they were, in California or anything, and it's like you think about it now and you think, why were we so bullheaded? But anyway, yeah, we've learned.
And rigid. And so I think as a team, we've learned that we can do so much in a remote environment. I was one of those individuals, I have to admit, that was a little bit rigid. Like I wanted the team to come in the office. I wanted, to have that time. But I'm way more open right now. And we're right at this point, our office, we have not opened again yet. We're looking forward to it. But with this Delta variant, we ended up having to pause again. So we are looking forward to coming back in the office. But even inside of that, we told our team members, at this point, is there a mandatory, amount of time that you have to spend in the office? No, we are allowing our team members to really build a career path and a working environment that works for them. And I reached out.
Flexible and voluntary, yeah.
Absolutely. And I must say, Barbie and all of her wisdom and mentorship, she kind of also helped me get to that place to realize it's a new point. Let individuals do what's best for them. And the team members are so excited about that, Steve.
That's great. Teneshia, I'm really looking forward to where this partnership goes, and it's great to hear the stories, carry on with the great work, and yeah, look forward to seeing you in person again soon.
Yes, thank you.